Hi, in this video I'll show you how to export your video from Premiere Pro so that it has the best quality when you upload it to YouTube. So the first thing that you're going to do after you're done editing your footage is to select your timeline and then click on File, Export Media, and then the export settings will show up. Then you want to change your format to H.264 because that is the format that is most commonly used when you upload your video to the internet. Then let's take a look at all of these presets, and as you can see there's a lot, so I'm just going to use the HD 1080p 29.97. So as you can see there's a lot of these settings, and now I'm going to show you how to configure all of them on your own. So you want to make sure that the resolution and the frame rate is the same as your source footage. You also want to make sure that the TV standard and the pixel aspect ratio is the same as source, and then you want to change this profile to high. Then let's take a look at the levels. So as you can see there's a lot of these levels starting from 1.0 all the way up to 5.1. So which level should you use? The level basically determines the maximum resolution, maximum bitrate, and the maximum frame rate at a certain profile. And you can take a look at this chart right here, and you can see that on level 4.2 with high profile, the maximum bitrate is 62.5 megabits per second, and the maximum resolution is 2K. So there's no need to increase the level unless you're working with footage that has a higher resolution. Now let's move on to the bitrate settings. So as you can see we have three options right here. The first one is CBR and the other two are VBR. So basically CBR stands for constant bitrate and VBR stands for variable bitrate. If you're using CBR, each frame of your clip will have the same amount of data. If you're using variable bitrate, some frames will get more data and some frames will get less data. You should use variable bitrate 2-pass because then you will get better quality. Because Premiere Pro will first scan your footage and then it will start exporting it. So it will be able to know which frames need more data and which frames need less data. Then let's move on to the bitrate. What YouTube recommends is 8 megabits per second for 1080p if you have a standard internet connection, and if you have a better internet connection it recommends using up to 50 megabits per second for 1080p footage. So there's no need for me to set this to 50 because the source footage was shot at 22 megabits per second. So basically if you increase the target bitrate to more than it originally was, you're not going to get a better quality. You're just going to use more data to represent the same amount of information. So I'm going to set my target bitrate at 22 and the maximum bitrate also to 22. And right here we can see that the estimated file size is 57 megabytes. I have a really short clip, but for example if you had a 30-minute clip, maybe this file size would exceed for example 2 gigabytes and you have an upload limit of 1.5. What you need to do then is lower your target bitrate to get a smaller file size, but that way you will lose quality. So basically it's up to you to find the best balance of the target bitrate and the estimated file size. Then before we move on to the audio settings, I'm just going to check this box, render at maximum depth. You will get better quality, but it will take a bit more time to export your video. So let's move on to the audio settings. The audio format that you should use for YouTube is AAC. And once you've set that, let's move on to the basic audio settings. You should set the codec to AAC, the sample rate to 48,000 Hz, and I'm going to set my output channels to stereo, and this setting depends on the recording format of your microphone. Then you should set the audio quality to high, and the bitrate shouldn't be less than 256 kilobits per second for HD video. Sometimes 320 is too much and there won't be any noticeable difference. It's up to you to configure this setting. Then you want to set the precedence to bitrate, and we're almost done. Now there's one more thing left before we click on the export button, and that's this box right here. A lot of people say that you should check this because you will get better video quality, but there's no need to checking this box if you haven't done any scaling in your sequence. So if you haven't done any scaling and you check this box, your video will take a longer time to export and you won't see any difference. So once you're done with all of this, it's probably good for you to save a preset. You can give it any name that you want, and then you won't have to adjust the settings each time you want to export a video. And once you're done with all of that, you should just click on the export button and the exporting will start. So I hope that you learned something new from this tutorial, and if you would like to see more tutorials, then please check out my channel, and if you like it, please subscribe. Thank you for watching and see you next time.